Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, my toxic in-laws instantly tried to steal my house after my wife passed away. They had been out of the picture for over 15 years, but now they showed up again to take everything I have. Here is what happened, let's dive right into the video. So I got married when I was 30 years old to the best woman in the entire world. The one thing I could never understand was how she was so much better than her parents. I know that it's not uncommon for people to not get along with their in-laws. These people though were just bad in every sense of the word. They always wanted to borrow money or try to convince me to invest by just handing it over. I knew they would just waste it anyway, they did not need the money for anything like bills. They just wanted a lavish lifestyle and expected it to come from their daughter. Once they started talking about her divorcing me and giving them a portion of the money, she was just done. She went no contact with them and I followed my wife on that. I was glad for them to be gone and we spent most of our marriage happy and not even thinking about them. About 18 years after we got married, my wife got sick with breast cancer. It went from a prognosis of looking good to very bad quickly. Then she was just gone and I was devastated. I wanted to grow old with her and now she was just memories in my mind. I remember that I was sitting in a funeral home trying to work out some details when I got a phone call from her parents. They were just shy of being in their 70s, but the fact that they were still alive when my wife was dead made me angry. I don't even know how they got my number or heard of her passing, but they did. The phone call was eerie with them, acting like the entire thing was some business deal and not a tragedy. They got very defensive about questions regarding the funeral and just wanted to talk about the house. For reference, my wife and I succeeded financially and lived in a house worth $1.25 million. I would call it more of a mansion than a house considering how big it was. I was just listening on the phone to them saying that the mansion now belonged to them because they are in my wife's will. And yes, the house was in her name and not mine at the moment of her death for some unrelated reason regarding credit scores. The thing was that while she did have a will, they were not in it at all. Then they dropped the bombshell that they were at the mansion at that moment and getting the locks changed. More questions on my end led to them just hanging up on me. They were stealing my home and dumb enough to warn me about it. I had to stop my meeting and rush home to try and get there before the locks were changed. It was not far and I got there and saw them standing at the front door while another guy was changing the locks. I ran over. Me? Hey, stop! This is my house! You cannot change those locks. Man, they told me they lost their keys and needed it changed. Me, they never had any keys, and if you change that lock without verifying proof of ownership or residence, I will report you. The guy was driving a generic white van and knowing her parents, he was probably not licensed to be doing this. He got scared and sprinted away. Upon looking later, he did not remove my old locks yet, so I was safe. They were a little damaged, so I ended up getting them changed anyway later on. For now, I had to deal with my in-laws that I had not seen in about 15 years. Me? What the hell do you think you're doing? This is not your house and you have no right to try and lock me out of it. If you want a reading of the will, I will gladly give you that just so you can see that you are nowhere in it. She hated you and the best thing she ever did was cut you out of her life. Father-in-law, this mansion belongs to me. I'm her father, and getting married does not change any of that. Everybody knows that ownership moves onto the father when a woman dies. She was my property first, so that means I get everything she owned. I almost threw up in my mouth from how disgusting of a comment that was. It kept going back and forth and hit a boiling point with my mother-in-law slapping me. This seemed to be a signal for father-in-law to shove me to the concrete. Mother-in-law, now get out of here before I call the cops and have you removed for trespassing. I wanted so badly to stand up and hit them back. The only thing stopping me was the voice of my wife in my head telling me that violence is not an answer. Instead, I backed off the property, got into my car and called the police. I told them that I caught an estranged family trying to change the locks of my house in order to get in my home and then attacked me when I confronted them. Now they are refusing to let me enter. They sent some police and I told the officers on the scene the same thing as the lady on the phone. They asked for my ID and told me it would be best to stay in my car since I was already attacked. Then asked if I wanted to press assault charges, which I did. After checking the IDs on my in-laws and only me having this as my legal address, they were forced to leave. Not in their car, but in the back of a cop car because of the assault. I called my lawyer right after to tell him that we might have a problem regarding my wife's will, since I knew they would not be done. The situation with the will didn't go to court, but we did have a reading of the will where a lot came out. As stated before, everything was being left to me, and she even had a note in her will mentioning that if her parents were alive, to not let them take anything. That was when their motives came out full blast. It turns out that they had taken out a large life insurance policy on my wife without telling either of us about this, which also meant they forged documents and signatures, so they were now in trouble for fraud as well. Since the life insurance was in her name and everything was being left to me, I was the only one entitled to any money. Note, due to the legal issues regarding the insurance, the company under some clause was able to revoke the money. I don't really care, since it just meant they wasted money paying into it. They got sent to jail between the assault and fraud, and I gained a restraining order for when they get released. I want them nowhere near me or my house ever again. The mansion was being put in my name as the sole owner, and if they tried to take it again, I would make sure they end up in jail once again. I had people asking me if they took out the insurance because they found out she was sick, or if they had planned to do something crazy for the money like have her killed. I don't think that's something I will ever know for sure, but feel free to tell me your own theories on it. And yeah, ripe stars, I'm glad that these entitled people went to jail, and I hope OP never has to deal with them again. Either way, the next one is titled Mind Your Own Business. A few years ago, while I was a student, I would work part-time at a local supermarket, let's call it Salisbury's. Typically, I would be working on the checkouts, however, when things were quiet, often during closing shifts, I would have other duties like restocking shelves or collecting up the shopping carts. This particular malicious compliance occurred while I was out in the car park collecting carts. Around 9 PM, the store is not particularly busy, however, the car park is around 30% full. Plenty of spaces, even once right next to the entrance to the building. Despite this, a youngish guy in a brand new white BMW decided to park in a disabled bay despite having no obvious disability or a blue badge, a permit which lets you park in disabled bays. The guy gets out of his car and heads into the store. Me, you know that you have parked in a disabled bay, right? Him, mind your own business. You're just jealous because you cannot afford a car like mine on a supermarket worker's salary. At this point, I remembered a key piece of information, so I did not reply and left him to walk into the building. About 10 minutes later, a police car pulls into the car park. Around the time of this malicious compliance, there were a few boy racers going around town and driving dangerously late at night, especially in car parks, so the police were patrolling each car park in town on a few nights of the week to scare off the delinquents. Anyway, as I'm pushing carts nearby, the police officer asked me how long this car has been parked there. I told him and he said he would wait for the owner. About 5 minutes later, I'm called back inside to go back onto my checkout. There's a huge set of glass windows through which we can see the car park from the checkout, so I glance out there to see the guy from earlier being fined by the police officer. And yeah, ripe stars, there's just nothing more satisfying than malicious compliance and petty revenge. Let me know if you have ever gotten petty revenge on someone in your life. Either way, the next one is a revenge story. This happened about a year ago to my friend, we will call her Jen, and her little brother Sam, 12 years old. Sam's baffling clairvoyance led to some great pro-revenge on intruders. One morning, Jen and Sam's mom went outside to see that her car window had been smashed. While nothing of value was in the car to be stolen, she noticed that they had taken her garage door opener. The burglars clearly meant to come back another time to ransack the garage and home when they thought nobody was home or the family was asleep. Unfortunately for them, Sam lived there and was obsessed with the idea of catching them in the act. A week and a half pass and their whole family is a little on edge. They've had police cruisers by most nights to check on them, but the criminals had not turned up. There was a reason they didn't get the garage doors changed, I don't remember what it was though. Anyway, that morning Sam wakes up and simply knows. He tells his family, "It's tonight, they're coming back tonight." The family kind of raises their eyebrows, obviously skeptical. He asks if he can stand guard. The parents are like, "Yeah, whatever, don't expect anything though." Sam plans a stakeout with an airsoft gun, walkie-talkies, the whole 9 yards. He even tried to booby-trap some expensive tools in the garage, but I think gave up after realizing it's much more difficult than the kid in Home Alone made it look. Sam goes outside at 11 p.m. and waits, hiding across the street in a neighbor's bush. After an hour, his family tells him to come inside via walkie-talkie and that the criminals are not coming back tonight. Sam refuses, he has a feeling. 12:30 a.m. rolls around and two cars coming from opposite directions approach Sam's house, slow down and then keep driving. Super suspicious. The cars come by again and his garage door opens. It is them. Sam takes pictures of the cars and license plates as they pass the second time. About 15 minutes later, three people creep up the driveway into the open garage. Sam radios inside to tell Jen and calls the cops. A few minutes later, police arrive and arrest all three of them who claim to have seen an open garage and went to investigate. This might have let them off with a warning or just trespassing charge, as they had no stolen items on their person yet and no garage door opener for proof. They had wisely left it in one of their cars. Unfortunately for them, Sam comes forward with his observation and photographs of their cars. Takes the police 5 minutes to search the neighborhood and find the cars parked about a mile away from the house. They find like 20 garage openers in the car, along with hundreds of dollars of stolen items. They are arrested on multiple counts. And the next one is an Am I the A-hole story. The past couple of months, my wife has been complaining about our cats. She's been claiming that the cats wake her up constantly and that she is frustrated every night that she has to get up and open the door for the cats. Or the cats keep making noises, or the cats keep jumping on her. It got to the point where she started saying that she wants me to get rid of them. I told her I've never seen or heard any of this, but she claims I sleep through it all. She kept telling me that she was getting less and less sleep and kept acting aggressive, blaming lack of sleep from the cats, and that if I did not get rid of them, she would leave me. I legitimately started considering giving the cats to my sister until I noticed something. One morning, she claimed she had gotten up multiple times throughout the night to help the cats. She listed a bunch of times. I thought it was weird because I'd been up until 4 a.m. and she claimed that she got up at 1 a.m. to open the door for them and a few times around 3 a.m. because they were meowing and jumping on her. I was in the bedroom the entire time while she slept and I know none of that happened. Things were not adding up, so I decided to run a test. I waited until she said she was gonna go to bed and then I let the cats out of our bedroom, lowered my phone brightness and faked going to sleep. I just laid there in bed for the entire night, bored, but I definitely didn't fall asleep. I made sure to make timestamps every 30 minutes on my phone through Discord just to make sure. I marked down every noise my cats made. One cat had jumped down from something and made a little sound at 3:18 a.m. and one ate food relatively quietly by the bedroom door at 4:57 a.m. Other than that, nothing happened. And sure enough, my wife slept from 11 p.m. until 9 a.m. And that morning, she claimed she had woken up at least 7 times to open doors and from cat noises and cats jumping on her. At this point, I was pissed because she was clearly lying to me. I was exhausted and fed up with the lies, so I just bluntly called her out on it. I told her, "That's funny. I stayed up all night to monitor the cats and they were not even in the room at all last night. I have timestamps and everything. So you've been lying to me and trying to convince me to get rid of my cats? Why?" She just sat there quietly shaking and looking pissed and then got up and left without answering. She came back hours later and ignored me whenever I talked, and when I asked her how I am the bad guy in this situation, she finally said that I was treating her like a child by lying about sleeping and staying up all night just to see if she was lying or not, and that making timestamps and everything as if I was an investigator was going too far and makes me an obsessive a-hole. I did it because she was threatening to make me get rid of my cats or she would leave, and her claims did not add up. So, am I an obsessive a-hole? And yeah, ripe stars, let me know what you think about this. I would say OP is definitely not the a-hole here. The a-hole is the wife for lying about the cats and trying to guilt trip OP into giving them away. I'm not sure, honestly, if I would still be together with that person if I was not married to her. But I guess in this situation, since they are married, maybe it's a little bit different. Either way, let me know what you think about this in the comments. Someone on Reddit said, "Not the a-hole, but I cannot help but wonder if your wife has some type of sleep disorder. I suffer from insomnia and fall asleep for just a few minutes at a time some nights and have very vivid, realistic dreams. When I get up in the morning, I struggle sometimes to figure out what was real and what was just a dream. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. Your wife was making claims that didn't match the known facts and you did what you needed to do to get to the truth. I find it interesting that she didn't try to argue that you made a mistake or that you really had not been up all night. That just tells me that she knows she is full of it. Get a lawyer, because you're about to need one. And now an update to the story. My wife has been Baker acted. She didn't hurt herself, just said something concerning in public. And by the way, ripe stars, I had to look up this one what it means, and apparently being Baker acted means being involuntarily confined for a mental health exam in Florida, and it's commonly called being Baker acted. I got a call from the hospital this morning asking me to head over for some family therapy. Apparently, she finally wanted to talk. I'll be honest, I'm pretty pissed at the reason why she's been so hateful towards my cats. It's completely asinine. It's nothing that anyone had suggested. She is not cheating, she's not sick physically or mentally, she's not bored of the relationship and looking for an out or something. According to her, one of the cats stepped on her laptop and ruined a story she was writing. She has hated both cats ever since. I mean, that sucks, but it's not worth trying to emotionally blackmail me into getting rid of them. I asked her why she didn't just tell me the truth and why she had been lying and refused to talk about it when I had asked. Her answer was, because you wouldn't have gotten rid of them otherwise. And then explained that when she saw that I wasn't willing to abandon them for her, she took offense and made it a goal to have me pick her over them. Absolutely sickening. Don't know why she actually admitted to it all. The woman with us asked me how I felt about all of it, and I just told the truth. I told her it was a nice run, but I'm probably going to want a divorce. I was asked why, and I told them. I've seen a new hateful, malicious side of her that I want nothing to do with. She was so set on getting rid of the cats over a fanfiction being ruined that she manipulated her husband. My wife started shouting at me that I've betrayed her and that I am scum for choosing animals over her. And by the way, ripe stars, I would say OP is not scum for choosing animals over a manipulative Karen, but instead he is more like a king, because that is exactly what I would do too in this situation. Either way, OP further says, at least cats don't give ultimatums like she gave. It sucks that she's been Baker acted and all, I guess, but it's for the best right now. She will have time to process it all in a safe environment and hopefully come to terms with it. Bad husband, I know. I'm almost sure I'm going for a divorce. I'm very worried about her in the same house as my cats. I want my cats safe. I don't want to worry about them being harmed or disappearing. Screw that. I guess I will do what almost all of you suggested. Keep the cats and rehome the wife. Not how I wanted it to end, but life is not always nice. If I may, I want to clear up some things from the original post. I didn't stare at her all night. We have a mute TV with subtitles playing every night. I subtly watch TV while paying attention to the cat sounds. I'm not allowed to install cat doors and she won't let me keep the doors open. Apartment rules. So why did I instantly assume she was lying? I'm unfamiliar with mental health and diseases. I know about some diseases, but ones that make you think your dreams happened? Tumors that make you see, hear, remember non-existent things? Sorry that I wasn't aware of these possibilities. So when someone tells me events happened when they literally didn't, I generally assume they are just lying. Shame on me, I guess. And yeah, ripe stars, I totally agree with OP here. I would also always choose cats or any dear loyal pet over any manipulative person. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. People of the internet, I present to you the story of the Karen that my family ended up moving in next to when we changed houses. So for context, my family is Chinese and we moved into an HOA neighborhood that was primarily white. The woman living next door, we knew from day one that she was racist towards us. One day she came to see the new neighbors and when she saw that it was us, she was shocked. She asked if we were the helpers and when the new neighbors would be getting there. We told her that we are actually the ones that bought this house and she was shocked and told us that it is not really the place for our type of people. Of course, immediate offense taken. It did not get better from there because she kept deciding to tattle on us to the HOA for things that we were not even doing wrong. Having family come over once a week was considered a crazy party to her. This was post-pandemic restrictions and Karen was clearly one of those stupid people that decided if you're Asian, you must be sick and at fault for the pandemic. I hated it more than anything, but we already bought the house and could not exactly just move away. Our son has a disability and it is noticeable when we are out and about. He wears leg braces and is not the steadiest while walking. We are so proud of him though, because at birth we were told that he might never even walk. So the milestones he has gotten to at this point are miles above what the doctors thought, and he is our little miracle. One thing he loves to do is play soccer in the front yard with his friends. Kids at school don't seem to comment or mind that he is a little bit different, and we love the school system in this new area. Karen, on the other hand, likes to cause problems when she sees our son, especially to the point that we told him if she approaches him to run inside and yell for us to come out. We don't trust her anywhere near him and don't want her ideas upsetting him. Anyway, one day he was playing soccer outside by himself because his friends had left, but he wanted to play until dinner. I heard Karen outside, and just like I told him, I also heard him calling for help and coming into the house. I got right into Karen's face because with all of her racist crap there is a line. That line is even trying to mess with my son. Me, what are you doing in our yard? I told you to leave us alone. Karen, he cannot be playing like that where everybody can see. I can call the HOA and get you fined. Me, like the last 5 times you tried and called him over some crap, he can play in our yard, Karen. Karen, I already called the police. They should be here any minute, and I'm not getting off your lawn until they come and hear what I have to say. And yes, she really did call the police, and a few minutes later about 4 cars came. I have no idea if that's normal or if she said something to cause this situation. Well, anyway, she had her arms crossed and the officers came over and asked who called the police, and she was quick to take responsibility. Karen, me officer. I called because I caught your little idiot son destroying public property. I can show you right here on the sidewalk. And by the way guys, in this situation Karen actually used a slur for disabled people that I don't really want to say on YouTube out of respect. Either way, this was the first time I heard of destroyed property and followed to see what she was talking about. On the sidewalk were chalk drawings that him and his friends did. Nothing vulgar or anything, just stick figures and animals. Classic kid stuff, and the police agreed that there was nothing illegal about that. Vandalism would be if he destroyed the sidewalk or something like that, not just drew on it with chalk. Karen was angry that the police were not gonna do anything about it and decided to get one last jab to me right in front of them. Karen, nobody wants to see your kid in the yard playing. It makes the neighborhood look poor, letting a racial slur that cannot even walk out in the open. She did eventually go away and back to her own home, but I was fuming. I wanted to wait until I calmed down in order to come up with some kind of plan. I don't like acting out of rage, and I wouldn't want to do anything that got me arrested. I calmed down the rest of the day, night, and the next day I woke up to find my car just gone. We do street parking here, and it doesn't always mean your car ends up in front of your house. I was parked in front of Karen's house the night before, and my car being gone had to be done by her. So then I went to her door and banged on it until she answered. I demanded where my car was, and she told me that she had it towed and I should not park my car in front of her house anymore. That was seriously the last straw for me, and I decided that I was gonna take serious action against Karen. The first obvious one being getting my car back and suing her for having it towed illegally. I won't go into details with that because it was pretty basic. It turns out she had a friend that owned a tow company and they towed my car even though it was highly illegal. The tow company got a huge fine and Karen was forced to get my car back to me and pay for the cab that I had to take to and from work that day. For the bigger revenge though, I called the man that owned the house where Karen lived. She was actually just a renter and I wanted to use that to my advantage. This might be a good time to mention that both my husband and I are real estate agents, so we buy and sell properties all the time. After a meeting and us giving him a good deal, we soon became the owners of the house. Karen was now our tenant and we could do anything we wanted now because of it. Different places have tenant laws, but here if you buy a home that has a renter, you have the right to kick them out. I know it's probably different for buying apartments, but we looked into the law. We were allowed to not renew her contract under our new ownership and have her evicted with a 30-day warning. I guess she saw the eviction and contacted the old owner who gave her our number. Suddenly thinking she was talking to different people, she was so nice, saying that she was a good renter and wanted a meeting to at least talk about the property. We then agreed and said we would be at the property to talk to her. When we showed up with the paperwork, she was furious. She was yelling that she would not let Asian people be her landlord and she would get sick staying there. She lunged forward and threw a punch that hit my husband right in the face. We of course called the police and she said that the dirty Asians were were trying to break into her house. We then showed the documents to the officers and they arrested Karen for assault. Also, insulting the landlord made her eviction immediate, and by the end of the day, we had all of her stuff out on the street. It was satisfying to get a racist Karen thrown out of the neighborhood. I wanted to teach her a lesson to never mess with us and never try to come after my son again. And now, after all, she does not have a home anymore and has a police record because of the assault. Good luck getting approved now. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.